Welcome back to Wall Again, where passion meets music, and today we are continuing our countdown of the top 100 classic rock albums of all time as per Classic Rock magazine. We are on to number 72 today, and it's this album by Linkin Park, Hybrid Theory. So again, I'd just like to say this ranking is from Classic Rock magazine, and the issue was released in around the year 2001. So it was ranking the best classic rock albums of all time. It's not my list. I would love to go and do my own list of my top 100 classic rock albums of all time, and I may do that after I'm finished this ranking. But for now, I'm just taking the classic rock listing and I'm running through album by album, certainly the albums that are in my collection. So this one here, Hybrid Theory, it was released in the year 2000, and I remember well when this came out. I wasn't a huge fan of it when it came out, I have to say. I was more into bands that actually had, guitar solos or multiple guitars, more of the complex stuff, more of the heavy metal, hard rock, classic rock stuff. And Linkin Park didn't really fit into that bill. They were something completely different. They were unique. They brought in elements of hip hop, of rap into their music. They also brought in electronic elements into their music, and they fused that with, I suppose, what we call new metal, or it was new metal, was this whole fusion of these styles. They brought in detuned guitars. It was all based around riffs, and probably slow riffs as opposed to fast riffs that we would have been used to with bands like Metallica and Megadeth. This was totally different, and it really sparked a genre. The leaders of the genre were probably Linkin Park, Limp Bizkit, and probably Slipknot, with other bands like Papa Roach. And then further on, then you had bands like Deftones and bands like that who helped develop the genre more. But I honestly think that this album by Linkin Park was one of the most important albums in the genre. So we'll just run through some of the facts on the album. So it was the debut album by Linkin Park, as I say, released in the year 2000. The band were based in the Agoura Hills, which is just outside Los Angeles. And the label for this one was Warner Brothers. So they got signed to a major label on their first release, which for a metal band was very impressive, to be fair. The album was produced by Don Gilmore, and it was mixed by Andy Wallace. Now, Andy Wallace has just recorded an interview with Rick Beato, and it's put out on Rick Beato's YouTube channel. It's absolutely fantastic, and Andy goes into great detail in terms of how he recorded this album, how he mixed this album, and some of the techniques he used to get that powerful guitar sound and all those little intricate pieces of synthesizer and little DJ samples and stuff to get everything to mix together and sound really, really big. So well worth a watch if you're a Linkin Park fan, or even if you're a Nirvana or Rage Against the Machine fan, because he mixed a lot of those bands as well. And it was an absolutely fascinating interview, I have to say, and I really enjoyed it. But yeah, so Andy Wallace mixed this one, and it was recorded at Energy Studios in North Hollywood in California. So the lineup for this one, there was actually 5 members in the band who recorded on the album, and they're all on the back of the cover here. So we'll take it from this side here. So that's Joe Hahn. He was on synthesizers, programming, and DJ samples, all the rest. Here we have Mike Shinoda, who wrote a lot of the material, and he was the rapper in the band, or he provided all the co-lead vocals, shall we say. In the middle here, of course, is Chester Bennington, rest in peace. Chester was the lead vocalist. He sang most of the melodic parts and also a lot of the screaming, which Linkin Park are known for. Behind him here then we have Brad Delson. So Brad was the lead guitar player, but Brad also played bass on this album. And then over on this side here we have Rob Borden. I was going to say Mike Borden. Rob Borden, and he is the drummer. So he provided drums on the album. Now missing from that photo is Dave Phoenix Farrell. So Dave was in the band, but he left the band, or he wasn't around for the recording of this album. So he gets credited on the album, however, he didn't actually appear on the album. So he then joined the band after the album was released, rejoined the band, and he toured with the band, and he recorded on every single Linkin Park album since then, I believe. That's my understanding. And he's recorded on the latest Linkin Park album. So he's been a long time member of the band, but just didn't appear in the studio for these recordings. So yeah, essentially the genre in this one, it's new metal. These guys invented the genre, as I say, along with Limp Bizkit and Slipknot for me. You know, they were at the forefront of it, and this album produced so many hits. They were all over the radio, all over the TV at the time. Obviously, this was before the days of, you know, the internet being big, and before the days of YouTube, certainly, and social media. So it was certainly in this part of the world, in Ireland and in the UK, it was TV channels like Kerrang and Scuds that really pushed these bands. And I have to say, like, Linkin Park were all over those channels all the time. So the 4 hits, it says it on the hype sticker on the front of this, the 4 hits: One Step Closer, Crawling, Paper Cut, and In the End. Those 4 songs were absolutely huge, but they weren't the only songs that were big on the album. Songs like Points of Authority is another massive hit by the band, even though it wasn't released as a single. Runaway was massive as well. So I think this album, it's kind of like a best of. It's got so many classic singles and tracks on it that it's really top notch. A really, really great album. Even if it isn't the genre I would go to first, my favourite genre, as it were. So for me, my favourite track on the album has to be In the End. Starts off with that very somber piano beginning, and then just lashes into like a hip hop beat and a groove, and it's quite good. But then when it comes to the chorus, it's absolutely fantastic. The guitars are huge on this song, absolutely monstrous, come thundering in there in the chorus, and then they drop out then obviously for the verse. And that dynamic, again, it was pioneered by Nirvana back in the early 1990s, but Linkin Park, I think, used dynamics to great effect in this album. Absolutely fantastic stuff altogether. Now, in relation to what songs I would skip on this album, there are a few, but the one I had to pick that I would skip would be song number 7, By Myself. It's probably of a lower quality than the rest of the songs on the album, but to be fair, there's so many hits on this album that, you know, it's easy for a song or two to fall through the cracks and not be at the high standard of the rest of the album. There's 12 songs on the album in total, and I think it runs at around just under the hour mark, maybe around the 50-minute mark. So it's quite a long album for nu metal for what it is. And nu metal is obviously very different to progressive rock or classic rock, where you can have like musical interludes or, you know, extended guitar solos and stuff like that. Keyboard sections, you don't have that in nu metal. So basically all of the tracks have to be pure songs, you know, verse, chorus, bridge, whatever the case may be, and it's not broken up by many musical interludes. So to have 12 tracks and to have such a long album as your debut is actually pretty impressive, but it probably means some of the songs on the album are a little bit weaker than the rest. So overall, I would give this album a 7 out of 10. I think it punches above its weight in terms of its genre. There's not that many nu metal albums that would make it into the top tier for me and get a 7 out of 10. Possibly the first or second Limp Bizkit album. And the only reason that really tickles my fancy, should we say, is because I grew up listening to it. I bought it when it came out when I was 16, and that's why it kind of holds a special place for me. But listening to it back now, it's not as great an album as I thought it was when I was 16, obviously enough. This album is probably better than that album. But in saying that, this style of music is not something I reach for often. I have this album in my collection because I was filling in gaps and I decided to go out and get it. I think it's very well produced and I think there's some great hits on it, but it's not the type of music I'll be listening to all the time. But I would love to hear your comments down below. If you're thinking this is a classic rock list and how is Linkin Park getting into this list, by all means let me know in the comments below. I'm sure there are many other worthy classic rock bands that maybe should have made it onto this list. But again, as I say, this is not my list. This is Classic Rock's list. So I'd love to know what you think out there of this album by Linkin Park, Hybrid Theory. If you liked the video, hit the like button, and if you could also subscribe to the channel, it really helps me out and I greatly appreciate it. And I will talk to you on the next one. Bye for now.